Welcome to a new episode of English Plus Podcast. In this episode, we're going to tackle opportunities don't happen, you create them. What does it really mean to take charge of your life and build the doors you want to open? We'll explore how opportunities aren't just handed to us, they're cultivated, like gardens that need care, effort, and resilience. From facing fears of failure to flipping the script on traditional approaches, this episode dives into the mindset, tools, and strategies needed to create your own success. And along the way, we'll expand your vocabulary with words and phrases like wake-up call, networking, flipping the script, and roadblocks, among others. So that's what we're gonna do today, my friends. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back to talk about how opportunities don't happen, you create them. Opportunities don't happen, you create them. Such a simple statement from Chris Grosser, but it packs a punch, doesn't it? It's like the motivational poster version of a wake-up call. But let's unpack it because at first glance, it can sound a little overwhelming. What do you mean I have to create my own opportunities? Isn't the world supposed to just hand them to me when I'm sitting on my couch binge-watching my favorite series? Apparently not. Here's the thing. Opportunities aren't like meteors that randomly strike you when you least expect them. They're more like gardens. You have to plant the seeds, water them, and maybe chase away a few weeds before you see the flowers. Now think about it. Most of the big breaks you've heard about weren't just lucky accident. Sure, luck plays a role sometimes, but often people set the stage for their success long before it happened. Take job hunting, for example. Do you sit back and wait for the perfect position to appear, or do you network, polish up your resume, and send out 100 applications even when you're not feeling confident? Creating opportunities is like building a house. You need tools, a plan, and a whole lot of effort. But let's not sugarcoat it. Creating opportunities can be scary. What if you fail? What if people say no? What if your brilliant idea flops? Well, here's a little secret. Failure is part of the process. It's like going to the gym and being sore the next day. It's not pleasant, but it means you're growing. The more you try to create opportunities, the more you learn about what works and what doesn't. And sometimes, the opportunity you end up with isn't the one you planned for. It's like ordering pizza and getting extra garlic bread. You're not mad about it. Let's also talk about mindset. If you're always waiting for things to happen to you, you're giving up a lot of control. But when you take action, whether it's starting a project, learning a new skill, or reaching out to someone you admire, you're flipping the script. You're saying, I'm not just a passenger in this life, I'm driving the car. And let's be honest, who doesn't want to be in the driver's seat? Just don't forget to check your blind spots. Now, does this mean you have to hustle 24/7 and turn every moment into a productivity hack? Absolutely not. Creating opportunities isn't about burning yourself out. It's about being intentional. It's about seeing potential where others see roadblocks. It's about asking, what can I do right now that gets me one step closer to where I want to be? So what's your next step? Is there something you've been putting off because you're waiting for the right moment? Maybe this is the sign you've been looking for. Just don't wait for an opportunity to knock. Go build the door and knock on it yourself. So that was about our topic for today, my friends. Now let's learn some vocabulary in context. Let's dig into some of the words and phrases we just used, starting with wake-up call. This is a metaphorical slap in the face, a moment that makes you realize you need to act. For example, failing the test was a wake-up call to start studying harder. Next, stage for success, which means preparing everything you need to achieve your goals. If you're planning a big presentation, practicing beforehand is setting the stage for success. Networking is another key word. It's about building professional relationships. Think of it as collecting connections, not business cards. You might say, I got my last job through networking at a conference. Now let's talk about polish up, which means to improve or perfect something. Like when you polish up your resume to make it shine for potential employers. You can also use it in other contexts, like polishing up your skills in cooking or singing. And there's also flipping the script. Well, this is a fun phrase that means changing how things are traditionally done. For instance, she flipped the script on traditional marketing by using memes to promote her brand. Now here's one you'll love: blind spots. Now, literally, it's what you can't see while driving, but metaphorically, it's the things you overlook. Now, you could say, for example, I didn't realize my blind spots in managing the project until someone pointed them out. Intentional is another power word. It means doing something deliberately and with purpose. You might hear someone say, I'm being intentional about spending less time on my phone. And how about roadblocks? Now, these are obstacles or challenges that stop you from moving forward. In life, a roadblock could be anything from a lack of resources to self-doubt. And then there's potential, which is the possibility of what something could become. For example, she saw potential in her side hobby and turned it into a full-time business. It's one of those optimistic words that opens doors just by saying it. And finally, burning yourself out. Well, this is a phrase that means exhausting yourself from overwork. It's important to avoid this. So you might say, I'm trying to balance my work and personal life to avoid burning myself out. And now here's something for you to think about. What's one area where you could be more intentional? And what's a blind spot you've discovered about yourself recently? Well, let's hear your thoughts. That's not everything. I still have a couple more questions for you to think about and discuss with me, with your friends, with your family, with anyone, or at least think about them on your own. My first question is, do you agree with the idea that opportunities don't just happen, but need to be created? Why or why not? And can you think of a time when you actively created an opportunity for yourself? What did you do and how did it turn out? And finally, what's one roadblock you've faced recently and how could you work around it to create your own opportunity? Well, my friends, with that, we come to the end of this episode. I hope you learned something new, or at least this episode inspired you to take action. And if nothing else, there are the words that we learned that you could add to your active vocabulary bank. And now, before I leave you, let me remind you that if you want to have access to our full episodes and the entire back catalog of English Plus podcasts, you can do that by becoming a premium subscriber on Apple Podcasts or Patreon. You can find the links in the description of the episode. And thank you very much for listening. I will see you next time. And remember, never stop learning with English Plus Podcast.